Hello and welcome to a quick video covering the Peak Score dashboard, explaining how to use it and attempting to find some value players using this Peak Score dashboard. So this can be found just under the Peak Scores, just under the Matchday Scores tab here. And to be honest, it's probably my favorite dashboard on Index Edge just because you can do so much with it and you can really use it to find some value players. So first of all, let's say we just want to change this filter here to find players who have hit the most scores over 150. You'll see that Joshua Kimmich comes out top, then Lionel Messi, then De Bruyne, Toni Kroos. So to be fair, 150 is not really going to win you many matchday dividends. So we'll change that to 200. You can either use that slider or just input whichever number you like into this button here. And yeah, Lionel Messi's hit the most scores over 200. CA, by the way, that stands for competition adjusted. So that's just removing the 1.25 multiplier, which is applied in European nights, like the Champions and Europa League. And then you can click into any of these players to actually see which matchday scores they have hit over 200. And that can be really useful to make the distinction between a player who's hitting scores maybe like 200 to 220 and players who are actually hitting massive scores like 300 plus like Lionel Messi does. And then you can sort the competition adjusted here. You'll have a list of that player's scores over 200 and that can be really useful. If you scroll down a little bit further, what you will also find is a peak scores versus price graph. This will basically show you which players are maybe the best value in terms of hitting high scores compared to their price. So yeah, you have like Ronaldo, De Bruyne, Toni Kroos. Obviously, you want to take age into account here. There's a few older players, but Di Maria, for example, the other day, I think he earned something like 40% of his price in one match. So I think this peak scores dashboard really does help you find the most valuable players on the platform. The other thing that you could maybe do is just change the age range. If you wanted to find younger players, we'll go for under 24s. That will be quite useful. And another nice option that you have, so Trent standing out there, Sancho's doing okay, Mbappe, Rashford, Hakimi, Mason Mount, Gabriel Jesus, me and Harris down there. So, yeah, so many great players to choose from. And then the other great thing that I think is really useful about the Peak Score dashboard is this max competition adjusted matchday score column, because say a player's hit, I don't know, if like Rashford's hit 7 scores over 200, which, don't get me wrong, is very impressive. He's a great player. We all know like how great he is for earning media dividends as well. But 247, it's not the highest of peak scores, especially not compared to most of the players on this list. But a better example would probably be like Renato Sanchez at 230 with 5 scores over 200. It's probably not the best. So like the context of the scores over 200 is also really important, and that's why I always have a look at these max competition adjusted scores. So Manuel Locatelli, he plays for Sassuolo, who are one of the most possession-based sides in Europe, and that's why he has quite a lot of scores over 200, 4 scores over 200. All of them are below 211. So maybe he hasn't actually got the best chance of hitting the peak scores needed to earn matchday dividends, as you can see. But don't get me wrong, he's not a bad player, and at 93p could be a decent hold. The point is, it's good to have a look at these max competition adjusted scores, and they will show up irrelevant of how you filter. So this will always be the player's actual max score, not within like the date range or anything like that. And talking about the date range, this is really useful as well. So if you want to find the most informed players, and we'll stick with under 23s for now, then yeah, you can change the date range. We'll just go for 2021, and we'll maybe make this a little bit lower. We'll go for maybe 150 just to get a few more results. Okay, so Sancho, Ruben Diaz, Wan-Bissaka, Anthony Cassie, Bukayo Saka. Yeah, so a lot of these players have actually been in really great form lately. And if they do have a high peak score as well, then you know they might be in with a great chance of actually earning you some matchday dividends. Another thing that can be quite useful is maybe having a look at the spread. And I imagine that the spreads are going to be quite tight on these players in particular. Or maybe Anthony Cassie and Rodrigo Bentancur and Yuri Tielemans are actually just particularly good holds, because their spreads are still wide, despite them hitting 3 pretty decent scores. Not amazing, not world beating, but over 150 is not bad. I guess they all have pretty strong base scores, so that's why. So if they add some more goals and assists to the game, they could do well. But yeah, if we change it to 180, okay, the results change a lot. And that's what you really need to do with this peak score dashboard, is just have a play around with it, keep on filtering it, and eventually you will find some players who really stand out as potentially being some of like the most valuable players on the platform. If we expand the age again. I'm sure we'll get some good results. Okay, Mats Hummels, Thiago Silva, yeah, Fred Leia. He was a player who I was having a good look at very recently, actually. Came across him in quite a lot of research that I was doing. So yeah, this can be really useful. The other thing that we might want to do is just change the position, club, country, and we can reset the whole dashboard by just pressing reset there. I'll then change it to, we'll try and find the top midfielders on Football Index. We'll go for scores of 200 plus, and we'll see which players have hit the most scores, 200 plus, which midfielders. And let's see who comes up. Okay, Kimmich, De Bruyne. Yeah, no surprises there. Toni Kroos, Bruno Fernandes, Di Maria, Luis Alberto. The other thing that we could do is maybe change the competition. We'll change that to Champions League, and you can select from any league there. So let's see the matchday scores that players have hit in the Champions League. Yeah, Joshua Kimmich, Toni Kroos, Thiago Alcantara. So these are players who could maybe stand out for the team of the month dividends as well, especially when there's less games each month, because they're going to have a really great chance of earning team of the month dividends. I just want to have a quick look at forwards now and defenders under these filters, because we're finding some great players here. Messi, Neymar, Gnabry. So these players tend to play particularly well in the Champions League. And then you could do the same for Europa League as well, of course. If we change that to Europa League, and then maybe have a little search for some players, maybe a little bit cheaper as well. We'll go for £2, and we'll try and pick out some younger gems as well. See who we find. Maybe reduce that to about 175 just to get a few more players. And we'll reset that to get all positions. Let's have a look. Okay, we found Nicolas Pepe. Yeah, he's a player who's performed really well in the Champions League. Diego Dalot actually gets a few more games for AC Milan. Munir El Haddadi, last season he did really well in the Champions League. Nikola Vlasic, a player that I personally rate, and I'm sure everyone knows about that, who listens to my content anyway. Nicolas Pepe, yeah, 4 scores there. Yaziki as well, he's a player who's hit some tremendous scores in the Europa League. If we have a look at his scores this season, wow, I think in the Europa League, what did he hit? 2 scores over 250. One was like around 290, was it? Yeah, 293 and a 270. Impressive stuff from him there. Another filter that you might want to use is the club. If you want to find players at a particular club, try and find the most valuable players at a club. So if we change that to maybe Borussia Dortmund, of course, we'll have Jadon Sancho come first, and then it'll be, I think, Rafael Guerreiro hit some really high scores as well at Borussia Dortmund. So just make sure you reset all of the filters when you're changing it. So yeah, change that, and then Sancho, you got Guerreiro, Mats Hummels, Haaland as well, and that's quite interesting because Haaland, he has hit quite a lot of scores over 175, but if we change that to 220, we'll literally only see, I think, 1 score over 226 altogether. Yeah, 1 score over 226. So that can be really useful as well, just to have a look into how players sort of vary, and you kind of get a feel for the players' matchday scores when you use this peak score dashboard a little bit more. And you can scroll down, and you'll have the peak score versus price graph again. You'll see which players maybe stand out compared to their price. So that can be really useful. Another final tool that I'll just quickly show is the country, and this can be really great for maybe the Euros or the World Cup. So if we want to find some English players who have particularly high matchday scores, we might change that to England. You can see that some of the best players are actually pretty young, really, like Trent and Sancho, Rashford. That certainly bodes well for England's national side's future. And we might want to change this to youth players, really, as well. If we go for like under 23, not quite youth players, but fairly young anyway. And I'm sure we'll find some more gems. Yeah, Reece James is there. Eberechi Eze's up there as well. Only 1 score, I suppose. If we change that to like 175, I'm sure we'll get the likes of Dwight McNeil showing as well, because he's a player who hits quite a lot of scores around that mark. Dwight McNeil's there with 4 scores. One of the cheaper options there with a 25% spread, and some other really great young English players. So that's basically how to use the peak score dashboard. I think you can use it in various ways. Just scroll down again, you can see Trent probably stands out amongst the England players for matchday scores anyway. But yeah, there's so many ways you can use this, and you can really just use this to find value players throughout the whole area of the market, throughout all areas of the market. And You can change the state to find informed players. You can find players of certain countries, clubs, positions, different competitions, by age, different prices, spreads, and it really is it's a tool that can be used in so many ways. So I hope you do have some fun with it, have a play around, enjoy finding some gems, and I do hope, as always, you have a great rest of your day.